Tasha Cahill.
Mike Cahill.
And we got back from Tiny Fest, and we want to share some of our thoughts with you.
You know, the honest truth is, like, going into Tiny House, very excited for, going into Tiny Fest, very excited for it. Really excited to show off our work there. We put a lot of work into getting there and putting our Tiny House up there. And I was actually, during Tiny Fest, it's you're really busy all day. You're talking to people all day.
Yeah, it goes fast.
And I think you know that you're going to talk to a lot of different type of clients. And then we also had the opportunity to meet a lot of different builders, specifically the day before.
Yeah.
And see some of the tiny houses. A lot of the people weren't there, but some of them were. So we got a chance to talk to a couple builders that we respected. But even at that, there are some interesting things that I even found out about how they're doing their certification or lack thereof, kind of what they're seeing with their customers. And it's also interesting to see, you know, some of the changes since we've started building to where people are now. Just right off the bat, without kind of diving too far in, because I know we have some specific points we want to talk about, but biggest thing I see is that rather than what's considered the kind of old style, or what I would consider the normal style tiny house size, which would be like 8.5 feet wide, you know, something you can drive down the road without a special permit. A lot, if not most, are starting to transition into 12-foot wides. I don't think I think they're skipping 10 foot and going to 12.
Yeah, I didn't see much for 10 foot.
Yeah. And then so what we're seeing is 12 foot by 30 or more, which would put us squarely in your standard park model, which would be your RV park, manufactured home park, whatever you want to call it. And that's so it's I don't really call it a tiny house anymore. It's more of a park model, and park models have been around for how many years? I mean, 50 years,
like
60 years maybe,
and the mobile home parks, and I mean,
totally
forever.
So I mean, yes, they're smaller houses. Some would call them tiny, but the tiny house kind of idea, putting in what you need and not extra space. And so obviously what happens when we go bigger, or anybody goes bigger, is the cost goes up, right? And that's kind of what brings us to what we saw. What do you want out of your tiny house? Do you want more space, or do you want more quality? And so kind of the idea of the tiny house again, and our idea has always been, because we're building small, we can produce higher quality and at a price that pretty much everybody can afford. And we've been trying to keep our tiny houses as affordable as possible. At the same time, it's not built into us and our company to do anything but the very best we can do for building.
We're perfectionists. We're the kind of people that, like, we start a project, we finish a project, and we're going to do anything that we do, we're going to do our absolute best.
Yeah, exactly right.
What.
So I think it's interesting for us to see that the tiny industry is moving towards, we're still building small, but we need more space. But the price has to be here, so we're going to have to lower quality. So it's a really interesting thing for us to see that. But I also see that, just like anybody, you know, I think you go into a bigger space and you're like, ooh, I could use some more space. Even when you're saying, I want to live in a tiny house. So the question is it really that people want to live in a tiny house, or do they just want a house for this price? Right, I want a house for $120,000 or $110,000 or $100,000. Would I rather have a kind of a cheap box that's made with drywall, cheap windows, cheap siding, something that's going to fall apart in 10 years, or the space that I need that's high quality finishes, high quality windows, walls, inside and out, high quality builds for the same price that might actually be 100 or so square foot less. It's an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
So, and it's an interesting thing to see that I see a lot of the people, a lot of the buyers, at least in this market, saying, It's not really that I want to live in a tiny house. It's more that that's what I can afford. And I want to get the most space. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm seeing a lot of.
Well, we also saw people saying, if this was for me, I'd buy this. I'd buy from you, right? Like this one we're sitting in right now. But I'm buying this for my workers, or I'm buying this as an investment for an Airbnb or this and that. So I don't want something this nice for this use.
Which is an interesting, it really is saying, oh, this is too nice for these people that I'm housing. They don't need something this nice.
All right, so let's equate that the tiny house market is like the car market, right? Mm-hmm. You have your higher end cars like a Ferrari.
Yeah,
right?
Ferrari, Bentley, Bugatti.
Woke up in a Bugatti.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have your lower end cars. Like, we like to make fun of the Geo Metro.
Yeah, the Geo Metro.
The Ford Fiesta.
Yeah. Yeah, or the... Well, I mean, I think Kia and Ford... I mean, obviously, Kia and Ford both make great cars.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So in the car industry, you have your higher end cars and you have your like lower end cars, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's the Geo Metro is our favorite.
Yes.
For the lower end. So we're thinking
the Saturn.
The Saturn.
Yeah. Remember Saturn?
I remember Saturn. Yeah. So part of the market, they're looking for the Geo Metros, right? Mm-hmm. They don't care how it performs over time. They want something that they can burn and then get out.
I think that is the thing. Okay, so it's not that they want something that they can burn. I don't even think it's that they want something that's going to fall apart. I mean, you go to the dealer and you're like, not that Geo's around, but you go to the dealer and you're like, you're the guy that buys a brand new Geo Metro, which is amazing because I don't think anybody ever knows anybody that had a brand new Geo Metro. Right? Everybody that had a Geo Metro, it was like a used one 10 years old.
Yeah.
And it was on its last leg. And maybe that's the way they looked right after you bought them. Regardless. Yeah, so it's not that they want it to fall apart, but I think...
It's cheap and disposable.
It's cheap. It's what I need right now. And I don't care if it lasts me for 5 years.
Or 10 years, or
Nobody's getting a frickin' Geo Metro saying it's going to last them 10 years.
Yeah, but I'm making the analogy about tiny houses.
My 10-year plan is owning outright a Geo Metro.
Okay. So the idea, though, is that when you're buying a tiny house that is a lower price, lower quality, you're not investing in housing, you're buying a disposable asset, and that's the right thing for some people in the market. That's what they want. They want something cheap. They want it now. They don't care about how it's going to perform 10 years.
I think that's the perfect analogy. The cheap car versus something that's going to be an asset that's going to be lasting you for. But housing, though, the way that housing is, and building to certain standards, housing, I mean, is like if you're building a house, a stick-built house, you're saying, I want this to be a house that's, easily lasting 50 years. Mm-hmm. Easily, if not more. In most houses these days, you're thinking this is going to last 70, 80, right? Years. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing that we're talking about, where we see this industry has the ability, right? Mm-hmm. It is at the crossroads, and there are people working, and we have somewhat as well worked on with the regulations that's going to go into building code and this and that. But I think the industry right now is at this kind of point where it's saying, are we going to be building to a code that is residential code to be able to last 50 or more years, right? Mm-hmm. Or are we going to be building to code that's designed for campers, right?
Yeah.
For temporary housing, right? A weekend getaway. And here's the problem that I see, especially going to Tiny Fest, is that people are advertising this is a living solution. Their home is a living solution that's certified to a level, boasting about it being certified to a level of a temporary camping solution. This exacting being RVIA, temporary camping solution, not a full-time living solution.
And RVIA is not a certification, it's a membership. It's not inspecting the tiny houses. It's a member like saying, I swear to do my best. And
right.
that's
okay.
it.
And then ANSI is a certification.
ANSI is a certification, but if you really look at what the ANSI code is, it's the bare minimum.
ANSI 1, what is it? What's the exact code?
119.5.
119.5. It is, but this is a camping code, not a living code. So when a builder boasts about being certified a house, what they call a tiny house, certified to 119.5, not 2.5, but 0.5, then that's saying that, okay, this is certified. Oh my gosh, we got this thing certified to camping level. I don't know exactly what the insulation value, it was astounding.
Really
I mean, you
low.
would be astounded,
Yeah.
right? And so you're talking about builders that are making something with shiny paint, just like the Geo Metro, right? Boasting about how nice it is, and selling it is for something that it's not. I personally look at this as very close to fraud. When you are saying this is this thing, and then in essence you're defrauding people that it is one thing that it's not, and it's not intended to be that thing.
One of the problems I think we're running into, though, in the industry is that people are like, well, we want to open up tiny houses on wheels as being considered housing. But when the people who are looking at these are saying, well, these are just RVs, these are just seasonal trailers, they're only
What do you mean the
built
people looking at these?
at the county offices, the jurisdictions, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
they're seeing what these builders are saying are full-time housing.
Yeah.
And it's not full-time housing. It's built
It never
like
was,
a camper.
and it's under the code for camper. So why on earth would a county official that's putting something in their county or their city and saying this is okay to be there, why on earth would that county official say, oh yeah, your camper that's designed for a weekend getaway is okay now for you to live full-time?
Yeah.
The insulation values are an absolute joke. The window panes are a joke. The structural integrity is a joke.
So to be fair, not everybody who builds to ANSI is building crap. But the only way for a buyer to know is to check. So if you're looking at a tiny house builder who says this is certified to ANSI, it's up to you to ask the questions, what's in the walls? How did you put this window in?
Versus
what kind of window are you using?
Versus a builder that's building to residential code, you don't have to check every single part of that tiny house to make sure it's higher quality. You know that when it's built to this minimum, which is a very high minimum, you're good to go.
Let's real quick discuss the math on a napkin problem.
Okay. So when I was there, Tiny Fest, and I think we had a bit of this when we went to the show in Phoenix as well.
I think we get this a lot, even like just day to day when people call and ask.
Yeah. So what they say is, what's the square footage? Okay. Square footage is 238 square feet.
Yeah.
Right? On our 28 foot. And what's the cost on that? Okay. So we're going to get a cost per square foot, which on when you're comparing apples to oranges, really, on, well, two things. One, if you're looking at a tiny house, which has everything in it that you need, right? It has the shower, has the toilet, has the sink, has heating, it has everything that you need in it, all the utilities. Versus a 3,000 square foot house, where that price is shifted over the entire house with the utilities.
Yeah.
So, but beyond that, it goes back to the same thing with a car, right?
It's like buying a car based on its weight.
Yeah, what is
buying a
the
car based
cost
on its
per
value.
pound of the car?
Yeah.
Versus and you're looking at it, I think again that tends to look at it as a disposable cost rather than an asset.
Yeah, you're not pricing it per the specifications.
Yeah.
You're pricing it with the amount of air it holds, which is just different in a tiny house than it is in like normal residential.
Yeah, I mean, price per square foot, though, on residential is the same. I mean, obviously you have land value, but if you're looking at the price of a build per square foot, I mean, if you want high quality materials, right? You're going to pay more per square foot for it. If you're looking for the lowest price per square foot,
buy a Cavco.
yeah, I mean, you might even be able to find something lower than that, like a tiny house. What is it?
It's
yeah,
tiny house.
I mean, yeah, I know how to build cheap. I know.
Oh, we could build super cheap.
Yeah, I mean, we could get C-channel trailers. You can use. I don't want to single out LP, but you can use. What are they? A structural. It would be a structural panel that is also your siding.
Yeah, like T111 or LP Smart Side.
Yeah.
No, one thing we won't do is use thermoply. For two reasons.
Thermoply is not exactly like LP Smart Side. It's
actually, you
actually
have to put siding on it.
It's actually, as far as I'm concerned, it's far weaker.
It's
not
weaker.
Not only as far as I'm concerned, because all LP Smart Side is code compliant for seismic zones.
Yes.
Whereas
and thermoply isn't. And you're forgetting that when the tiny house is going down the road, I don't care how slow they're driving, that trailer is wiggling and having pretty much a consistent earthquake over time. So a sheathing that's not allowed in California because of the seismic zones on a tiny house is
I would say
crazy.
It's not just there are other companies that make it's a
laminated cardboard.
Yeah, but it has a term because there's another company that makes a very similar product.
I don't know.
It's like a structural panel that is a laminated structural panel, something like that. So I mean, I'll call out those for use in tiny house. That's wrong. They are not intended or appropriate in any way to be used in a tiny house. And
or any structure that moves.
You want to talk about a throwaway house or a throwaway dwelling. Anything that's on wheels that uses laminated cardboard panels for their sheathing. Anyway.
Okay. One thing that I've noticed is that these tiny house companies say, I have an architect on staff that's designing this and getting this approved. And I'm thinking, so you have an architect who is choosing to use these products, knowing that they are not the most appropriate products for this application. Like certain types of sheathing, certain types of trailer materials.
Yeah.
That this person is stamping something with their name and their number on it, knowing that it's not the right use of that material. And that's highly unethical.
I agree. I mean, no, if you are again, a lot of this goes back to telling the customer that it's one thing when it's another. And that goes back to saying, is this, I don't consider it's not housing intended for full-time use unless it's built to the code, right? That's intended for full-time use. Whether or not I hire an engineer to stamp it and say, okay, it's going to get down the road and I'm not going to get sued.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean that this house is going to last 20 years or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. No. It means that within the first year or two, the engineer is not going to get sued where they're going down the road. But anytime after that, the engineer is going to say, well, this is off my back. This,
Yeah.
And, they, obviously there's many engineers out there, and you can find one that's going to say, okay, you give me $1,000 or a couple $1,000.
Yeah, you got your Geo Metro of engineers and you got your Ferrari of engineers.
Yeah. So, again, the whole idea of buying a dwelling that is for throwaway, it's an interesting thing. And that's what that is. I mean, overall, that's what I'm seeing the industry go towards is.
Yeah, but I want to believe there's still a market of people who are interested in something that will actually last them and actually be an investment and be an asset.
Yeah. Well, I would say to that person, if you have to spend an extra $10,000 and that's, you're getting a loan on this, which financing is really easy to get now in tiny houses. And you're spending that extra $10,000 over the course of the next 30 years. you're going to be pretty happy that by the time your mortgage is paid off, that your tiny house still exists. If you buy a quality tiny house, and you're going to be pretty unhappy that the entire ownership that you have, probably after the first 2 years, you're going to be putting a heck of a lot of money into getting it fixed.
So another thing that we learned at Tiny Fest is that a lot of builders like borrow ideas from other builders, right?
Yes.
And they'll, walk around and show up next year doing something that someone else did. And I just love that so many builders came to look at our poster.
I think they came to look at our posters.
Yeah.
Interestingly, so we could just brush on that real quick. I think me and Tasha, we're talking about ways to eliminate waste, because we had printed a lot of brochures the last show we went to, and we had
extras.
We had a lot of extra, and I don't like throwing away an entire box
of things you paid for.
Not only that, but paper,
Yeah.
And so we wanted ways for our customers to see what we wanted to show them. Just a lot of the stuff we're talking about today, some of the differences in the way people manufacture. I mean, this is educational
like our thermal
material.
break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're like, what do we do? Do we print this or what? And so we decided to have them on posters, and then so people can stand there and read them, which many people did.
Yeah.
And also a digital version, so they can scan it and save it and read it later. This allowed us to, so we only printed one brochure and some business cards, rather than having to print 3 or 4 different kind of educational materials. And I think our next show, we're going to fully get away from any brochures. We'll only have business cards available.
Once I put the QR on the business card too,
and then
it goes to the brochure.
Yeah.
So it's
and then so we're going to be all digital, and then we have one print that if somebody wants to read it in person, that's big and easy to read.
Yeah.
So we did notice, I think if you go to the next Tiny Fest, based on the response from many
builders coming
yeah.
just to look at our posters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so but you know what? They got to see our tiny house and our builds and what we're doing different. And how you feel when you're in one of our tiny houses. So that I think we'll probably see some of that.
Do you think we'll see something like an anatomy style?
I do. I think we'll see
poster?
that. Absolutely, but I think we may see some of the other things that we do as well.
Like more wood?
Yeah, definitely a possibility. More wood. Because it has a different feel when you're in the tiny house. It's really
warm.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It feels like a home. And I think that's the main thing that I would say that we're seeing. We're going to continue to build to the quality that we strongly believe in. We building to residential code is a must. Because we're not building weekend getaway campers.
No.
Right? We're building houses. And I gotta say, anybody out there, or any other manufacturer, or anybody else that you want to consider a competitor of ours, that is not building to residential code or using inferior materials because they're cheaper or quicker to install, I have no respect. None. And I don't at all believe there's a place for those at all in anywhere. I don't believe that there is a place for them.
I think the biggest enemy to those types of builders is an educated buyer. I think that's the biggest threat to them.
Yeah.
Is knowing that their buyer might learn that what they're doing is both unethical and not providing a quality product that will last.
Just one more thing, that's people that are building tiny houses, residences, actual tiny houses, or not, whatever they're calling it, out of the country, right?
Yes.
So I would say you are running the risk. It's not a guarantee, but you're running a risk of getting inferior materials. What are the reasons a builder would choose to manufacture out of the country and bring them into the country versus manufacturing here?
Cheaper materials, cheaper labor.
Okay, so cheaper.
Avoiding certain types of taxes and tariffs.
Well, let's just say, why would the materials be cheaper in another country?
Because they have different standards.
Exactly. So even somebody buying, for instance, drywall, right? If they're putting drywall in their tiny house, I think drywall can have its place in a tiny house.
No,
I think you can do it right.
We discussed this. We know how we could do it.
There is a standard of drywall in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you buy drywall outside of the United States, you're not abiding to that standard, right? So all of the certification companies that I know, they're not looking at the type of drywall you put in. But there is a history with drywall coming from China or coming from other parts of the world to have problems. And there's a history. There was a major lawsuit with builders in Florida about 15 or 20 years ago where they had to come in and rip out all the drywall because they were causing mold problems. So
because it wasn't built to the standards.
The drywall itself was not manufactured to the standard. Yeah, exactly. It was cheaper, and that's why they were importing it from China. But so if you look at another builder and saying, okay, they're not buying materials that are standardized, right? And these are usually standard. What's the company that standardizes?
So
all of these products.
ASTM.
ASTM. Yeah, so all of these products are ASTM standardized, meaning they have to be to a certain level of quality, whether it be outgassing, whether it be the type of paper that they put on even drywall, whether it be the wood that they're buying. One, is it ethically sourced, right? Two, does it have chemicals that they put in it? So ASTM in the United States is making sure that these types of things are safe and they're not going to cause problems. But if
they're used properly.
And they're used properly. If you go out of the country and you build, you can get these materials, which you can't even get in the United States, right? You can get them for cheap, and then you can install them and you can hide them behind the walls. Or you could even get something and put it on the wall and say it's one thing when it's not.
So overall, what we saw at Tiny Fest was there is a divide in both the tiny house on wheels industry and the customer base for tiny house on wheels, where some people want to build as cheap as possible and sell with the lowest prices possible.
But say it's the same thing. That's where the problem is to me.
And some people want to buy as cheap as possible, and other people want to build quality, stand by their product. I mean, our name is on it.
Yeah, I think I don't have a problem. I mean, I get, of course, of course you want something for less money. Of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you want the best thing you can get for the least amount of money. I don't.
But are you expecting it to last?
The problem is where I see it, people being defrauded.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is where you have a builder saying, no, ours is just as good as theirs. They're just charging you more money. They're just making a bunch of money off you. That's the problem that I see, and I see a lot of builders doing that. I even see builders saying that as their tagline. Things like same quality for less. I think the minute you see somebody say that, you need to start questioning what's going on.
When you look at nerds like us, nerds for building, nerds for material, right? You wouldn't know like how much work we put into sourcing our materials and our processes, right? If there was a way to build at this quality for less, we would have done it already.
And we do look at, we still look at finding the materials that we use, and we try to get the best price because we honestly want to pass that on to our customer. We strongly believe that everybody should have a quality place to live.
Yeah. But that means something that will last. Living in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Dead horse. Beaten. Done.
Yeah.
Go team.
Okay.
So we want to know what you think. If you think that the quality matters, the build quality, the price, what matters to you when you're looking for a tiny house, and how are you using your tiny house that makes that quality level attractive? I'm Tasha. Thanks for watching.
Okay, I'm Mike Cahill from Cahill Works Tiny Houses. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, leave your comments. Let us know your thoughts. Bye.
Bye.